Okay, Hope, please tell me, when is it that I need an attorney when I'm having trouble with the schools?
Okay, so my name is Hope Kirsch, and I am an attorney with the law firm of Kirsch-Goodwin and Kirsch. I work with my sister Lori Kirsch-Goodwin, who is also an attorney. We represent families throughout the state of Arizona in all school-related matters, from kindergarten through college. And I get this question a lot. Sometimes people come in here and I realize, you know what, you really just need a good IEP. And so I will then refer them to advocates. I always give a list of 3 or 4 names. There are always, everyone's got a different personality. And some attorneys just have a better track record with some districts. And so if you need a good IEP, you don't need to pay an attorney to do that. If you're having a dispute, then that's up to you. I'll never say to a parent, you absolutely need an attorney, because that really is a decision. So I give them the options, but basically, if it's a legal dispute, and what is a legal dispute? You're not getting services, or you embarking on litigation, then you would need an attorney. But again, what is really a legal dispute? What can be resolved with an advocate? And I have seen advocates resolve issues, and sometimes advocates will call me and say, hey, I'm going to send something your way, I think it's due process, we're ready for due process. And I'll say, just give me the facts. You know what, go to one more IEP meeting, use this strategy, try to get the private school. You don't need an attorney. But tape record the meeting, and I like when advocates tell the school that they're tape recording it. Parents need to have that honest relationship with schools rather than just hiding the tape recorder. Plus it looks better if you're going to due process. Okay, so against that backdrop, go try to work it out. Have one more session, one more IEP meeting, and ask for what you want. But sometimes an advocate will send someone to me for a strategy, or I like having a legal strategy, and then the parent can carry it out themselves, or if they want help, they can have an advocate guide them. Also, I really like when parents bring someone to an IEP meeting or a MET meeting. It's very intimidating. The first time my sister had to go to a meeting when her son, who's now almost 22, is in kindergarten or first grade, it was very intimidating. Even though everyone, especially at that time, was there to help her, it's intimidating. You walk in and you're the last one walking in. There are 10 people and everyone's sitting, and you've got to find a seat. So it's good to take an advocate, or if you don't want to pay for or unable to pay for, not that you don't want to, we don't all have money just lying around, then bring a friend, bring an aunt, bring a sister, bring
What do you
a neighbor.
think about DDD has been telling parents to bring their support coordinator?
Oh, if you have DDD, absolutely. I like to bring them, and I've been to IEP meetings and it's great. They're just really good.
Have you ever had a parent bring, I found out behavioral health has this service called a family support person. And they're supposed to help navigate things and be supportive to the parent. Have you ever had a family support person?
I have not. When I've spoken to them, usually they're busy and they don't attend. So okay. I always tell parents, go with someone. And if you have a DDD caseworker, absolutely. Also for MET meetings, I want someone to call in. I'd like to have the psychiatrist or the therapist or any private person, private evaluators, private therapists call into that.
What a follow-up question for you. A lot of families are having trouble with school districts accepting their diagnosis, more so than ever before. So is that something that you would need an advocate for, or would you might need an attorney for?
You can always start with an advocate. Remember, if you're going to due process, not necessary, you can do it on your own. You can have an attorney support you but not provide legal guidance, and these are all fine line stuff. But remember that it's not the label that drives the services, it's the needs of the child. And it depends why the parent wants the label changed. I believe that labels are important only because teachers and other educators and staff perceive a child based on that. So if a child, for instance, has an ED eligibility, emotional disability, they're throwing over chairs, then a teacher may think, oh, that's just a bad kid, which isn't true, of course, because that child has some emotional issues. But if the child has an autism label, the staff might see that child differently, not as the child engaging in willful conduct. So I do think it's important. But years ago, I had a conversation with one of the administrative law judges who said to me that he or she, I don't want to identify that person, believes that labels are important, but that the law does not require that. And that is true. The law does not require a certain label. And we have seen a lot of issues on that. A lot of times parents want to be able to use the empowerment scholarship account. That's why they want the autism label. But Arizona Department of Education monitors how many schools are giving that label out. So it's hard to get that. I will need an IE from someone, and I want that person to look to see if this child qualifies or qualifies for the medical diagnosis of autism and DSM-5. But even with that, that doesn't mean that the child is entitled to the eligibility for that category in school, or even for an IEP for that matter. But assuming the child has an IEP, again, the school will always say it's the services that drive. So it depends on the advocate, and an advocate can have a good strategy. I can't say that you need an attorney. We've done it many, many times. And remember, I was a teacher, and I taught students with autism and emotional disabilities and behavior problems. So I've got that background. When I go to a meeting, I'm going also, I'll say I'm an educator, and I know the needs of students based on that. So what I do is I try to show what the child's needs are and how it fits within, say, the autism eligibility. And so ADE, Arizona Department of Education, also has these worksheets, which all parents should be familiar with, that schools have to abide by. It's almost like a checklist, very brief. Does a child have this item? And
can you download those?
To you.
Oh, that's awesome! I did not even know those existed. Sure. So is it bad for parents to represent themselves, or because I had heard that sometimes lawyers don't like to take a case if a parent didn't have an advocate.
Or if a parent, it depends on who the advocate is, it depends what it looks like. So when you say take a case, my immediate instinct is to a parent, you already filed it, sorry, I'm not taking it over. And then, please look at it, and it might actually have been a good, IEP, a good due process complaint. So it depends where you are. Sometimes we've taken over cases and just try to work it out because the parent may have not articulated it well, but it's a good case. And it needs to be resolved. And it shouldn't go to a hearing, it should be resolved. So it depends. But parents are skeptical of lawyers. I get that. I wouldn't want to have to go to a lawyer.
Well, it's just I think, autism families struggle with money sometimes, and
Absolutely.
That's a big decision. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, I spoke to a parent last year whose child was actually physically assaulted in the school. Now for me, that would be where my line would. You hurt my kid, I'm calling a lawyer.
Okay, so understand, we get calls like that. So that's, restraint seclusion, but that could be a personal injury action. However, no one's going to file a lawsuit on that. Well, someone might.
Right.
But, unfortunately or fortunately, unless the child's injured, there's really nothing you can do. Except, then the lawyer will call the lawyer from the school district, because that's what we do. We get right on. Generally, we know for all the public school districts who the lawyers are, and we just call them. And we'll try to resolve things, even when someone comes in here. So everyone would pay for a consult, but we try to resolve issues, so we will, and we always have to meet the child, but here's the phone, we'll call the lawyer and see if we can work something out. Maybe that we need to write an email afterwards. So we try to resolve what we can. And also remember that in due process, in due process, a parent can recover fees. They're not entitled to without going to hearing and prevailing. So that is something we try to work out.
Okay.
And sometimes we try to resolve cases even before filing for a due process complaint, because we have that kind of a relationship where we'll pick up the phone and just try to work it out. Litigation is no one's benefit. No one benefits from that. I don't want a family. It's hard enough that you've got a child with special needs, and then you have to litigate on top of that. It's stressful. It is, no parent, unless they enjoy it, and I think that, some people might, but for the most part, you don't. You don't want to go down that path. Also, we know that a child's life is at stake, so if we're going to an IEP meeting or a MET meeting, we're walking away from there, hopefully never having to go back and leaving everyone, kind of kumbaya. Everyone should get along really well. And because we have a unique relationship with the attorneys, because we work with them so many times and could have 10 cases going on with one firm at a time, and 10 matters, not necessarily cases, and we've been doing this for so long that we all know that we need to fix this issue. Because no one comes to an attorney and says, hey, I'm coming to you, I want to pay you because everything's great.
Right.
I just want to just sit there and just tell you how good everything is. So I just want to fix it. And you know what? The school attorneys, believe it or not, they do too.
Yeah.
They want to fix it.
Well, being pragmatic, because I think some families are all about, I want to win, and I have to talk to them, okay, let's be pragmatic. What does your kid really need? Because winning's great, but that might take you a lot longer than getting what your child needs.
If you say the word principle and doing it on principle,
Yeah.
they say, I'll give you the names of other attorneys. I don't do it on principle. And you know what? You will never be satisfied.
No, I don't think so either.
So the whole thing is, let's fix it.